The Art of War is an ancient document attributed to the Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu, acting as a template for achieving success in warfare through strategy and tactics. The writings have been overpoweringly influential in Eastern Asian warfare and is highly celebrated. It was an inspiration for many well-known figures like Napoleon. Many armies throughout the world have this in their libraries as essential reading for soldiers and have it as part of the syllabus in examinations for potential military service. And the strategy and advices laid out in the works aren't restricted to waging war on a country, but can be applied to business and legal practices, among many other things. When you read it, you try to think of how this can relate to your own work, whether you are a high school teacher, a sports coach, etc. And I found that it's especially helpful if you are in a position of authority with people working under you. For example, football coach Felipe Scolari made the Brazilian squad study the book during their 2002 World Cup winning campaign. There's no doubt that the art of war is revolutionary and its influence is practically incomprehensible. It's dated as being from the 5th century BC, which again is unfathomable. It's also really interesting that it's so relevant even today, and seeing that, going off the book, human psychology hasn't changed much over the years. The Art of War is split into 13 chapters, and in each chapter a number of bullet points detail strategies of warfare. Some parts come off as simple common sense, others quite thought-provoking, and some passages that I think might have gone over my head. It would have been cool to have an analysis alongside the text to further explain Sun Tzu's teachings. I feel I would have gotten a lot more out of the book that way. I know versions like this does exist, but the one I had only Sun Tzu's bullet points. I have to say that despite its short length, I found some parts a real challenge to get through. I found myself in the habit of reading a page but nothing actually going in my head, and then having to reread it several times to take it in until I took a break and tackled it again at a later date. I know it isn't exactly a children's storybook, but it isn't the most entertaining read, if that makes sense. I know it might seem blasphemous and edgy to give it the score I did, but that's purely coming from the perspective of someone looking for an interesting read on his lunchtime breaks. Still though, there's a lot to gain from the book. A lot is covered on leadership, discipline, and working relationships, among other things. It's great for all people in any walks of life, especially as a textbook of reflection for those in a leadership position, providing insight into the mindset of a remarkable leader. Many of the tactics spoken are being widely used, some perhaps even originate from the book. Big businesses, governments, and dirty politicians probably have the most to gain from this beside actual military figures, as a lot of the focus is on winning a war without having to actually fight. It's worth a read, and I think it has something for everyone.